your cup down, hold on, drink freely.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to this week's episode of Process Sports Radio. Once again, I'm your host, Justin. I got a record-breaking show for you guys today, as we're going to be talking about Big Money Mahomes getting his record-setting deal. Finally, the NFL and the Washington football team are going to change its name, but it's not for the right reasons that you might think so. And finally, we're going to be touching on the 10-year anniversary of those famous lines, "I'm taking my talents to South Beach." Can you believe it's been 10 years? Because I certainly can't. But before we get into all that, please remember, like and subscribe to the video. You can find this on YouTube, right? You can find all the audio format on Spotify, Apple Music, all of that fun stuff, Google Podcasts, wherever. Remember, check out my website, and I want to thank you guys for all your support. I want to thank you, Jas Graywell, for coming on last week. I really appreciate it. I do have some more interviews lined up, some really great people that I feel will be definitely some interesting topics that we're going to be talking about. Plus, I also got merch coming out soon, so stay tuned to that as well on all my social media platforms, especially on Instagram. You guys know where to find me. Thank you again for all your support. So let's jump right in. So, Patrick Mahomes got paid, and I mean paid. The reigning Super Bowl Kansas City Chiefs locked up their franchise quarterback to a 10-year, $450 million deal, which, including the next 2 years that he was already under contract, will basically bring Mahomes up to having $477 million over the next 12 years. Unbelievable. This is the biggest contract in North American professional sports, surpassing Mike Trout from the Angels, who signed a 12-year, I think it was $432 million deal. But the funniest part is, or the interesting part is, I'm not even surprised. When I heard this news yesterday, I was not surprised whatsoever, because this guy deserves all that money and then some. He is like LeBron James in a sense, where no matter how much money you pay him, he's still going to be worth even more, because you know why? He is the most talented quarterback. He's the best quarterback, the best player in the NFL, and he's going to be that for the next 10 years, in my personal opinion. You look at his first 2 years starting already. What has he done? He's thrown for 50 touchdowns. He's won an MVP. He just won a Super Bowl, right? You're telling me this guy is now not the face of the NFL? He is the face of the NFL. He's the face of not only Kansas City Chiefs, the NFL, but football in general, right? When you think of the NFL, you think of football, you're going to think of Patrick Mahomes, right? It's unbelievable what he's done, right? And barring any injury or anything like that, I could see the Chiefs being Super Bowl contenders and having teams have to go through Kansas City for the next 10 years, because that's how good he is and that's how good that team is. People are worried about the salary cap or whatever for Kansas City. In my opinion, that's not going to be a big deal, because they can always restructure the deal, move money around to ensure that all those weapons, the Kelce's, the Hills, the Hardmans, the defensive players like D Ford, Honey Badger, they're all going to stay there, and they're going to be a dynasty to be reckoned with, in my opinion, right? So, Mahomes, it wasn't that crazy to believe. $450 million for 10 years for any quarterback would be crazy, other than Patrick Mahomes. Maybe even, I love the Seahawks, and I think Russell Wilson is right there with Patrick Mahomes, if not just a little bit below him, but it's not surprising. This guy's going to be the best quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks to go down in history, in my opinion, right? So, good on the Chiefs for locking up their guy for 10 years. Good on Mahomes for getting that bag. He deserves it. But with this news, though, talk with the next quarterbacks coming up with their deals. What is that going to mean what is this deal going to mean for them? So we look at, of course, the Dallas Cowboys with Dak Prescott, the ever-going saga of will he sign, will he not sign, what's going to happen with Dak. So Dak was asking for $40 million to begin with, and honestly speaking, this deal might actually help him out, because if Mahomes is the standard, the top dog at $45 million, Dak can simply ask for, okay, I'm not Patrick Mahomes, but I'm $5 million less. That's a good enough hit, right? So Dak definitely is going to benefit from this, because now with Mahomes, annual salary going up to $45 million, it's going to skyrocket QB salaries up to even higher, right? So you look at Dak, he's going to say, okay, fine. You offered me 35. I wanted 40. Just give me 40, because Mahomes is now at 45. So this is going to help Dak, but he's not going to get a 10-year deal. They're not going to sign him to a 10-year, $40 million deal, because simply he's not Mahomes. He wants a $4 million deal, a 4 or 5 year deal where he can maximize his leverage again and get into free agency, get a second deal, something like Russell Wilson, where he took a shorter deal and then got an even bigger deal last year, right? So I think Dak will eventually get done, probably somewhere around $40 million. but it'll be a shorter term, maybe a 4 or 5 year deal, right? But he's going to have to probably play on that franchise tag for this year, in my personal opinion, but you never know what's going to happen. Next, we would have Deshaun Watson, where I think Deshaun Watson is a top 5 quarterback in this league. I think Deshaun Watson is supremely talented. Not only a great thrower of the ball, runner, but he can read defenses really well. He's a great talent like that. I think he will get a similar deal than in the similar price range as Dak, where it would be around 35 to 40 million. But I think he deserves every penny of that. Where I don't think Dak does deserve it, but that's just what the market will dictate for a franchise quarterback in the NFL. As I do know, I think Dak he's not the MVP of the offense. In Dallas, I think that's Zeke in the offensive line. But I do think if you want a franchise quarterback, you want a starting quarterback, that's the price you're going to have to pay. So, like I said, going back to Deshaun Watson, he deserves all that money. He's probably going to get something similar to what Dak would get, maybe a little bit of longer term, 5-6 year deal with $40 million and a bunch of guaranteed money. The only guy I can see that will come close to that Mahomes money is Lamar Jackson. Because if you look at Lamar Jackson, he, of course, is the reigning MVP of the NFL. And for example, if Baltimore, gets hot and Lamar takes another step and they win the Super Bowl next year, he in his first 2 years starting and then some, right, he would have won an MVP and he would have won a Super Bowl, same as Mahomes, right? So you're telling me then Baltimore will have to buck up the money. He won't be asking for the same thing, right? So I definitely think Lamar Jackson is the closest one that would get Mahomes-like money or Mahomes-like contract. But then again, Mahomes is just in another stratosphere, in my opinion, talent-wise. And like I said before, the things that guy can do, the football is uncanny, right? The way he can run, throw on the run, that just his ability just to be electric like that. He's worth all that money and then some. So congratulations to Patrick Mahomes, man. You do deserve that bag, and much success to you. And like I said, I'm in awe and congratulations. So that was the big news money-wise at the NFL, where Mahomes gets his record-setting deal. But other news in the NFL is, on a more serious note, is finally the Washington football team, we all know the name, I'm not going to speak on it, is basically now going down the road of changing their name and rebranding, which it's been time, right? You look at that team, they're basically playing under a racial slur, right? Can you imagine any team playing under a racial slur here in Canada or anywhere in the States? But that team has, right? And yes, it's great, it's finally happening now, but the sad part is it wasn't based out of the owner Dan Snyder's good heart. It had to do with money, right? And what does everything come back to? I always say in sports, it comes back to money, because FedEx, the company who spends $200 million to put their name on the stadium that they play in, Nike spoke up. Nike also spoke up, sorry. Nike took their merchandise off their site, and that's what's it going to cause. It's going to take money out of Dan Snyder's pocket. So what's he going to do? He's going to try to fix it and make sure his bottom line stays nice and fat, right? So this is something that, yes, it's great, but let's pump the brakes a little bit on the goodness out of their heart, where these owners he's only really doing it because he doesn't want to lose any money, right? So it's great it's finally happening. I'm glad that finally this racial slur of a name is going to be removed and we're going to move forward, and hopefully they make the right decision and put a name there that's either respectful or something like that. And they do deserve, the Native American community in the States, and all over North America, does deserve an apology for this name, right? So, but let's pump the brakes a little bit on, it was a great thing when it was basically they were forced into it because of money reasons. So, that's kind of it. I want to touch on that a bit. But kind of the big thing I want to talk about today is going to be, can you guys believe it's been 10 years since LeBron James, then Cleveland Cavalier LeBron James, uttered those words, "I'm taking my talents to South Beach," and joined the Miami Heat, where he left Cleveland and joined Miami with his friends Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade and formed the Heatles, probably the most polarizing and hated team ever in sports, in my opinion, where even more so than the KD Warriors, because this was the trendsetter. This was the first one that did that, right? You look back at that, where LeBron was coming off, his first stint in Cleveland, where he was, the best player in the world, but they had no success in the playoffs. They're running into Boston and Orlando, right? And LeBron realized he couldn't get guys to come to Cleveland, and he had to do what was best for him to win and his legacy, and he had to learn how to win. He played in an environment where they were never accustomed to winning. So going to Miami under Pat Riley, Dwayne Wade, who had won a title, and learning how to win. We all know that was the right move by LeBron. But the decision part of it, where it was on TV and national TV, without telling Dan Gilbert or the Cleveland Cavaliers that he's leaving before he goes on national TV was probably the only blemish, I think, in LeBron's career so far, where he did kind of owe it to them to at least give them respect and dignity to know that, hey, I'm leaving, I'm going to go on TV and announce this, but he didn't, and we saw what the ramifications were, where, he went from the biggest hero in Cleveland to their hometown hero to the biggest villain in Cleveland history, right? Where he was getting his jerseys burned, posters coming down, people wanted nothing to do with him, and of course Dan Gilbert goes out there and writes that letter. It's basically scathing LeBron, saying that he's a quitter, he will never win a title ever again, which didn't really happen, but his whole personification in not even just Cleveland, around the world, really kind of flipped on an axis, because he went from a hero to a villain who turned his back on his hometown to join forces and create a super team to win titles. And I know it didn't help with the not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, not 8. But like I said, going back to that, in hindsight speaking now, it was the right decision to make. I know for me at the time, being like 13 or 14, realizing, man, what the heck is he doing? He can't leave Cleveland. Like, that's his hometown. Like, you basically spit on the face of your hometown, right? But, LeBron said, when he came back, right, on that letter, that beautiful letter, where he needed to learn to win, right? And he needed to, change the scene. Sometimes a change of scenery is good for people, right? Like, you look at, I'll put it in a Vancouver perspective. I think if Jake Virtanen, in the news again for going out to clubs and stuff like that, yes, he was within the rules and stuff like that, but it's not good optically, especially being his public celebrity that he is in Vancouver. If he changed the scenery, it would be good for him. I feel like he could grow more as a player where he doesn't have that whole celebrity aspect here in Vancouver. But going back to LeBron, he had to do it. He had to learn to win. He went there. And looking back on LeBron's career, you think about that 4-year period he was in Miami. I think that was the best version of LeBron we've ever seen, right? Now, of course, we have this year's LeBron, who was great. I mean, it's so hard to pick. LeBron's been great for so long, so many years, right? But I think that 4-year period of LeBron James was the greatest version of LeBron James, just absolutely at his peak, right? But that decision was such a it was changed sports. So you look at it, LeBron basically took player power away from the owners and gave it to the players, right? So now you look at it, player movement is now accepted. It's actually a given in sports now, where you look at guys like, even Giannis right now. People are thinking, well, what does the Bucks have to do to make sure he stays? Otherwise, he can walk, right? KD, he walked away from Oklahoma City because he wanted to play in Golden State. And they wanted him, and he decided to look at Kawhi. He had just won a title for the Raptors, and he wanted to play at home. What did he do? He went to the Clippers. Paul George, same thing. He did not want to play in Indiana anymore. He got forced to trade. They traded him to Oklahoma City. He resigns in Oklahoma because he wants to be there. But quickly like that, he changes his mind. He wants to go back home to LA to play with Kawhi because he feels that has a better chance to win. Same thing with Anthony Davis. LeBron did it 2 more times. You think about it like that. After Miami, he realized that, Dwayne Wade's getting older, Chris Bosh is getting older, the roster's getting a lot older. I can go back to Cleveland and win a title with guys like Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving, right? And then even then, he goes to the Lakers, where he feels that's a younger team. I can live in Hollywood. I can live in the second biggest media market in the world, probably, and start my roots in my post career life as well, right? So, the biggest takeaway, though, out of that is you look at that, the players now have all the control. They can determine where they want to live, where they want to play, and stuff like that. That's what LeBron gave them. LeBron gave players that. That's probably the biggest takeaway from the decision that there is that LeBron basically gave players back their freedom to decide where they want to play, where they want to live, and how they want to take control of their own career. Before, it was basically the team and the owners had all the control. Now, in the NBA, especially in the NBA, it's a player-driven league where the players have all the control now. And that's thanks to LeBron and that decision. On the flip side, though, you never see any more TV decisions, like TV special decisions like LeBron had on ESPN. Because you know why? Those players saw all the hate and just how negative it was, and they realized it was a mistake. Even LeBron realized it was a mistake, right? When he went back to Cleveland, what did he do? He wrote a beautiful letter saying that, Northeast Ohio and Cleveland means so much to me. It's my hometown. I want to come back and do what's right. Win a championship, which he did, as we all will never forget. And even then, when he went to LA, just a simple press release. Right? You look when KD left, he just simply announced when KD left to go to Golden State, he wrote a Players Tribune article, right? you look at all these things, guys aren't going to be doing those big TV specials anymore because they realize it makes them look bad. It makes them look, like airheaded, and it's all about me. When, in fact, I bet you that wasn't LeBron's idea, but it was just a poorly executed plan, right? And that was a mistake on his part and his team's part. But you look at it back at it, it was good because now nobody does it anymore, right? So LeBron was a trailblazer in that essence as well. And like I said, looking back on hindsight for LeBron's career, it's not that big of a deal because he won in Miami. He went back to Cleveland, made amends, probably had a shining moment that everything will remember for his career as he won a title for Cleveland, right? So definitely looking back on that decision, it was such a thing that changed sports world like that. Not even just the NBA, it changes sports world in the essence where now players have the control on what they want to do. They're not told they have to play here or play there, right? So once again, I still can't believe it's been 10 years since that's been said, but it's something that definitely will change the sports world, not only the NBA, but change the sports world as well. So that's kind of it for today, guys. Again, big money Mahomes move. Finally, there's some change in the NFL for Washington, and 10 years since the decision. So hopefully you guys enjoyed my topics on that. Like I said, you'll check out this video on YouTube. Audio formats will be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, whatever. Stay tuned on my website for some merch, more news on the merch. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You know what to do. Also, guys, please stay safe. Take care. And I hope you guys are enjoying your summer. And like I said, we'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.